Another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendu. Thanks a lot for joining us. Another week's gone by. January is almost out of the way, which means 2025 is in full swing. Still not sure what the 2025 budget passage and implementation is going to look like, but we're looking forward to a much better 2025 than we had in 2024. We're going to be talking on unemployment to start off the show today. All around us, if you go around the country, you can see visible signs of unemployment and how it's bogging down the polity. But there's something happening in Nigeria where a lot of the data and statistics officially don't seem to match what we see on ground. Nigeria reviewed how it sort of collates unemployment data, and the statistics say it's 4.3% unemployment in the country, and I don't know if a lot of people agree with that figure. We're going to be starting a conversation now, joined from our Abuja studios by Kingsley Obiuku, who is the co-founder of the Kingsley Obiuku Foundation. How are you doing, Kingsley? Good day.
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us. Like I said, the federal government, sometime I think last year, we did know that the employment rate in Nigeria was about 33% at the time. They did do a review saying they had to include a lot of people in the informal sector. If you worked for just an hour a day or something, it counted as employment, which means we're at 4.3% now. It's been quite controversial, and a lot of people are still not sure what that means for the economy. Where do you see things today? And it doesn't look like there's jobs anywhere still. We still see people on social media complaining about graduating, not getting jobs, or getting jobs that are not suitable enough. I mean, the inflation rates are crazy. Salaries haven't particularly gone up. You know, how are things looking from your end?
I mean, you basically said almost everything. We still have a high unemployment rate, regardless of the statistics that was released by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. But definitely, we need to look at creative ways in which we could, create job opportunities for especially the youths, we the youths. I believe the greatest challenge of Africa is not the lack of resources, but the absence of leadership. And we're not talking about great leadership, but we're talking about common leadership. And what do I mean? Give for example, you go to China now, you see examples of what great leaders have done. You see bridges on top of bridges, all of that. But you come to our country and you see that even some roads that it's just basic haven't been fixed or created. So, I mean, these things, these kind of environments don't create a conducive, it doesn't create conducive, I think the word is, it doesn't create a conducive environment for some companies to strive. But, I mean, with the current government in place, I think they have played a huge role in terms of kickstarting our economy, fighting this high employment as well. I think the current APC, the current Tinubu government is playing a huge role in fighting the unemployment rate in Nigeria. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure things will improve in a matter of time.
Yeah. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Muhammadu Dingyadi, I think sometime last year had said, that Nigerians were expecting his ministry to create jobs will be disappointed because that's not the ministry's job. I mean, there's an argument for that. Government doesn't necessarily create jobs, right? They create the environment for jobs to be, created and thrive, which means the private sector, I guess, bears the bulk of that responsibility. But on the flip side, we've seen so many reports in the last year plus of, investors here who have sort of just basically been battered. Every other day you open social media, someone's building is being knocked down, or there's drama with licensing, or people who try to invest. There's bureaucracy that has hindered that. We all saw what happened with Landmark, and thousands of jobs were lost in the process because of the Lagos Calabar Coastal Road. Signals like that almost sort of erodes confidence in investing here, which should create jobs. The government that's trying to bring in jobs, but also sort of with their actions almost shows that, you're not necessarily welcome, for want of a better term, Does it tie together for you that there's an intention to actually create those jobs or make an environment or create policies for jobs to thrive here?
The thing is, government should be a continuum, but sadly, in our case, we've had scenarios where, for example, use the coastal road, where things weren't properly planned from the beginning, and you find out that new governments come in place to try to fix or rectify these things. And in order for them to do this, yes, a lot of people would have to be on the receiving side. Moving forward, I don't think there's any government in the world that wouldn't want to do best for their people, because the major idea behind the government is serving the people. So I think policies that have been introduced so far in this administration, some of them have been working, but I think one of the major things we need to do is to see what we can do in terms of the interest rate. The interest rate is a bit high, and that doesn't really encourage a lot of people to, especially the young entrepreneurs, the SMEs and all of that, to go to the banks, to approach the banks for these loans. We need to come together where you have the government sector and the private sector sitting down on a round table. We get the best minds, we sit down on the round table to figure out what the best ways or things to do in order for us to create an enabling environment, because the most important thing is an enabling environment. Once you create an enabling environment, you find out that we pull in a lot of FDIs, we pull in a lot of, even local investors have more courage and more willingness to invest inside the economy.
There's people who have said that, maybe Nigeria's educational system is so focused on, training people to work for others. But I tend to argue with that, because the one thing you can't talk about Nigerians not being is entrepreneurial. There's small businesses scattered everywhere. People graduate and go start up a small business. We're seeing what's happening in tech, in the fashion industry, makeup, entertainment. Young people are starting their own things in their own way. But thriving is still the question. So speaking to young Nigerians, what are some of the things they should start thinking about, looking at, if you want to start a business, if you want to employ people, to sort of help this unemployment crisis that we find ourselves in?
The thing is, we spoke about an enabling environment. So the thing is, to some extent, we can't really do more than the environment allows us to. So we need to see, even within this context, what can we do as young people? The opportunities out there in terms of the energy. Energy is a big one. You find out a lot of young people going into solar productions. You find out that people are even going into people are building factories where they build these panels here in Nigeria right now. You spoke about tech. You spoke about fintech. Nigeria has one of the best fintechs in Africa as well. We likewise need to give this country a lot of credit in terms of opening the minds of the youth. If you go to so many other African countries, you realize that Nigerian youths, or we Nigerians, we think different, and simply because the country has given us the opportunity for our minds to be opened up. So I would encourage more young people out there. Don't feel discouraged. Don't feel like you're being held back. Go back to the drawing board. See what you can really do, because there are really opportunities out there, and things waiting for us young people to do.
Yeah, I guess just on the final note now, what sectors should young people be looking at? We've heard a lot about what's, like you said, the fintech or tech as a whole is doing. We hear the GDP is about to be rebased to include, heavily what happened in the tech industry in the last decade. There's also, of course, conversations around entertainment. Besides maybe these two sectors, are there any other places that young people can thrive in, looking in the future, 5-10 years, that can help, this unemployment situation? Skills acquisition, because Nigeria has labor. Nigeria has cheap labor, and so many other countries have cheap labor. For example, China has cheap labor, India has cheap labor. But you find out that when investors want to make a choice on where to put their factories in terms of cheap labor, most of them go to either India or
China. I mean, one of the major things that we need to do in Nigeria is find out how we can improve our youth based on skills. I know in my state, for example, Anambra State, our governor has come up with one youth, two skills. We need more of those kind of initiatives, to empower the large, youthful, vibrant population of our dear country, Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Kingsley Obiukwu. I mean, thanks for your contribution. We're hoping that, things start looking up definitely in that space, because young people need to get engaged and do a lot more for themselves.
Don't just stand there teasing me.